Welcome to Business Blitz, 5 minutes of tools, strategies and skills to ensure that you can propel your business forward this month. As usual, we have the dynamic panel of Andrew Simmons from Vision Personal Training, Rachel Bourke from Sales Space and Geoff Roberson from Champion Legal. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzy.
We are talking brand this month and I'm so excited about this. When I think about brand, I actually think about big brands and I was thinking about countries. And if there's one country that has an incredible brand, it's got to be Italy. Don't the Italians think of themselves as the great Casanovas of this world?
Absolutely.
Is that a brand? Have they done a great job in branding themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
So I want to ask you something. They have managed, I believe, to convince us or give us a perception of who they are as a country and as a people. Is that what a good brand does, Andrew?
Definitely. I'd like to think that we're a bit more like them, rather than maybe the yobbo culture in Australia.
Good luck with that. So let's go. So the Italians have done a great job in making sure their perception of who they are is pushed out to the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
So when you think of other brands, maybe not countries, but brands as people or brands as organisations, which brands have done a great job in doing that?
I think for me, I've got two brands in mind. I think McDonald's, funny enough, people think it's quite strange that I would say that, but I immediately associate McDonald's with systems. They managed to be able to take that around the world. So that's the first brand for me. And I also think at the other end of the spectrum, some would say, is Louis Vuitton, because they're a premium brand. And I love the fact they never discount. So it's always at the top of the tree there. And I think, wow, they are premium, it's luxury, and they stick to their guns in terms of their price. And therefore, I believe their product remains amazing.
Okay, so I like this idea. So McDonald's, you told me the brand is all about consistency. So what's the word that you associate Louis Vuitton with?
Premium.
Premium. Okay, beautiful. Rachel, over to you. We're talking brands. Which are ones that inspire you?
I'm inspired by Virgin and Lorna Jane. And what I love about them both is that you can really feel the founder's personality style through it. I love that. In a brand, I like to feel the stamp of the person who actually, was the first person who thought of it all and have put their heart and soul into it. And I really feel that those two brands capture that.
So what is it about the Lorna Jane brand? So what's the feeling you get from walking into a Lorna Jane store?
Inspiration.
Okay.
So health and inspiration. When I walk into Lorna Jane, whether you love her stuff or not, her heart and soul has gone into it, and she's massively inspired. And I think she, you can feel her values in the store and in everything she does. Same for Virgin. You really feel the values of not only Richard Branson, but also I think the values, the whole culture of the place. You can really feel it in the branding.
So we're getting feelings coming from you. It's a big thing. It's that heart connection with the brand.
Yeah, definitely. And the values, very clear and obvious, the brand values.
Okay. Jeff, over to you.
Nothing quite as noble as Rachel, but I must say
Come on, Jeff.
This is going to be good. Let's hear it.
Well, if I look at ads particularly that I've noticed, and it takes a bit to penetrate all of us, doesn't it, in relation to advertising, but I think Aussie Home Loans, we'll save you. It's just a strap line, but it's really worked very well. And more recently, I think the ads put out by an agency that look after Jeep, for example, but there's that ad with the woman in the car park and one of her male colleagues says, "You've got a new car." "No," she said. "Yes, you have." "No, it's an Alfa Romeo." And I think that sort of, it makes an impact. And the sales for both those brands reflect it.
Have shown it.
Yeah.
I want to come to Andrew, what's his name from Aussie Home Loans? Simmons.
Yeah.
What is it about his, because that's very much his personal brand, isn't it?
It is.
It's something about him that because he's a big part of that brand.
Yeah, I think he challenged the establishment, he challenged the banks, and that's how people see him, as a man that stood up for little people.
So he's really the antithesis of what we thought of when it comes to banks. So his was also a time and place.
Absolutely, very clever.
Yeah, very interesting.
We'll save you.
And it's been willing to kind of pick a fight with authority in his circumstances. So it's having a willingness to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. And I think that comes to our next point, which is around target market. I was out for lunch yesterday with somebody who's got a really growing business, and she was an accountant. And I said to her, "So who's your target market?" And she said, everyone. And I was gobsmacked that she had given me that as the answer, and I questioned her on it. It's something that I find many people struggle with, and I'm sure our listeners here today are going to be struggling with them themselves. Why do people struggle with articulating who their target market is? And I'm going to go back to Andrew for this one first.
Actually, I would like to pass straight to Suzy because I would steal her thunder because I think she responded really well before by defining that.
And that's good. And I'll grab it from Rachel. I'll go and take it from Suzy straight to me.
Beautiful.
He meant Rachel.
Yeah,
So what I'd love to say to that, obviously people come to me all the time talking about their target market and asking me, is it right to have a target market? The thing that they're so terrified of is they think that having one target market or just a few target markets will really limit their options. And they're so scared to do that because they think if they're not selling to everybody, then what if that person comes along to me and says, no, sorry, I don't work with you? They think that they're going to lose money. And what I always say to everybody is that just think about a doctor. And think about if your eye is really sore or you need an eye operation, are you going to go to a GP or are you going to search for the best eye surgeon in Australia? So, of course, the answer is you're going to go to an eye surgeon. And that's the answer to target market. It is not the general practitioners, the people who do it all, that people are searching for and wanting the very best of. They're wanting the absolute specialist, and it is always the specialists that also make the most money.
And let me add to that, we saw Mary van der Weel yesterday talking about brand, and she was saying that most people don't buy because they can't tell the difference between your brand or your product and somebody else's, which I thought was a really interesting comment.
So I couldn't have answered that any better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in fact, the question I was going to ask you was about the attributes of your target market, because you've nailed that so well. Talk to us about that. Give some people some ideas of the wording and the kind of sense of what makes up that feeling of who your target market is.
Well, I think it's a very interesting space in fitness at the moment. I believe our industry very much caters for the pointy end or the highly trained or fit people. And we look at the other end, the people who need our help are the ones who don't exercise every day, are intimidated about going to a fitness facility. So we're targeting the 80% of people who don't go. So in the fitness space, we've probably got about 15% of the adult population who actively exercise each week on a regular basis.
That's not a large proportion.
It's not, and about 25% have a gym membership. So a lot of people have a gym membership and actually don't go. Now, for me, that's just a values thing. I can't stand that. I just don't believe in that. If someone's going to take out a membership, they should be held accountable or they should be motivated enough to go. But unfortunately, it's not going to sound really good about our industry, is that most people make the money from the people who don't go.
Yeah, that's actually common knowledge in your industry, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just, from a values point of view, I just can't buy into that.
So I'm going to come back to you about your target market. It is the people who are not particularly fit, who would be intimidated by walking into a general gym.
Yes.
And are they of a certain age, a certain socioeconomic, any of those sort of standard attributes?
Definitely.
Do you find those?
We've sort of pinpointed three definite areas. It's the 41 to 45-year-old busy business professional.
Yep.
Okay, it's the 51 to 60-year-old male approaching retirement, and also the mother post-babies.
Okay.
They're the three defined target markets that we have. And if you were to really wrap that up, it's the 40-plus market that isn't being looked after right now, I believe, by the fitness industry. And
and I think that in fact it's a great market to be speaking to, because we know, yes, there's a lot of money in the younger market, and we also work with that 40-plus market.
Yeah. And generally speaking, we say that the older they are, the longer they stay.
Yeah.
They're generally more settled in their life.
Yeah.
And it's the ones who need our help. Diabetes is growing off the scale. Obesity, osteoporosis, these diseases that don't need to be around. They're the people we want to help.
So if you've got a business in the over 40s market, that's the one that you want to be in. We need to wrap it up. I quickly want to go to Geoff. There are 20 million people in Australia, or 20 million plus. Most of them are going to need a lawyer at some stage of their life. How do you decide which of those people are your target market? If you can give us a 30-second answer.
Well, again, we have... there's not plenty. There's legal aid for a certain segment of the community, but in a business like ours, we look for high net worth people. We look for corporate people because their spend on legal services is usually tax deductible.
Yep.
And government work. So really, it's a business, and you've got to be business-like about your approach to your markets.
Yep.
We're fortunate as an older business, we've got a lot of repeat business. And again, if you're in business and you've been around for a while, it's looking after the people that come in the door every day, looking after them properly, and they'll come back to you, making sure that they come back and recommend you. It's still about recommendation at the end of the day.
Yep. Great insights into brand. We're going to pick this idea up again in our next session. But from today's session, please understand that when it comes to your brand, you want to be able to stand out from the crowd. You want to know who your target market is, because the clearer you are, the clearer they are in being able to find you. So for Business Blitz this week, thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to propelling your business forward again next week.